Welcome to Training Talk. Ep4, Jeffro trainer, class myself as the naked PT, the naked chef on this. This is me. You know, no trying to sell stuff, no cheese, just me breaking down my position, breaking down training. You know, this is inspired. I don't have a lot of viewers for this at the moment, but certainly the people who are watching this, you know, you're helping mold this. And this is also, I want to emphasize every episode is I've spent 10 plus years talking to people about training. Yeah, I've done a lot of coaching, but I've learned loads from just that gym member in the corner who's lost a load of weight. That other gym member who wants to talk about what muscle group he's done. You know, that woman in the corner who's doing pull-ups, who looks ripped. I've talked to all of them, and I'm always fascinated by everyone's viewpoint. The fact that a lot of us are talking the same language, and also the fact that a lot of what I'm seeing online is just confusing. All right, so this episode today is dedicated to food, and I'm going to class it as confusion by design. A lot of this is up for debate. That's probably something that isn't being talked about a lot, is that, yes, there's certain principles. Yes, there are a lot of experts. Yes, there is a lot of science. But there is a lot of contradictions and there's a lot of confusion. All right, so let's get that established. If you're someone who's got in fantastic shape, or if you're someone who has got average results, any results at all, and has a style of eating, you have a position within this debate. You know, I want to start off by saying that. So the first question I want to ask is it confusing on purpose? And here's an example. This week, one of my clients, they wanted to talk about supplements. So this is a lady who wants to talk about supplements, and I'll show you the confusion and see what you think. So you need more protein in your diet is the starting point of our, you know, why we needed to look at supplements. Okay, great. So I'm recommending you eat more protein. Okay. Let's look at some supplements. As soon as you start looking at supplements, here's where contradiction one starts. All right, I'm willing to have more protein in my diet, but I don't want a protein supplement that's got sugars in it. Okay. Why not? Because sugars makes you fat. That's not me saying it. That's a client. Okay. So you don't want sugars, but you want more protein. All right. So sugars make you fat. All right. But all supplements have got some form of sugars in it, because otherwise you can't digest it. And most of the people who take a lot of supplements aren't fat. They've got a lot of muscle. So that's contradiction one. Where do you stand on sugars? You know, do they make you fat? You know, I'm not going to sit here and go they do or they don't, because here starts the kind of labyrinth of confusion, right? I want to take more protein. I want to avoid sugars. Don't worry, because the confusing fitness industry and the nutrition section has a website and a product specifically for you. You want a protein, you don't want nasties, as they call it. So, buy a tiny thing of protein like this, right? Take a little bit each day, and it's got no sugars in it. Oh, by the way, it's double the price of the one with sugars in. But we've got that product with no sugars because we agree with you that sugars aren't good for you. So that's, where do you stand on that? Where do you stand on sugars? You know, and where do you stand on protein powders? I say that, even if I wasn't a coach, with a simple kind of common sense perspective on protein powders and protein supplements and sugar. My common sense perspective is they've all got some sort of sweetener or sugar in, and loads of people in really good shape take them. So, what do? I break the group, and I say to all these people who are taking protein, it makes you fat, sugars makes you fat. I'm going to take this protein that costs me twice as much because it's got no sugars in. So if sugars makes you fat, that's kind of conundrum one, debate for you one. Do sugars make you fat? Nutrition confusion. Now, obviously, I'm not going to bore you with the usual nutrition talk, and there's a big reason why. I would like to talk about, in this section, the evolution of the food plan. Now, people who are seasoned watching this will know what I'm talking about when I say a food plan, okay? So let me give you some background on the food plan, all right? When you're a trainer, or when you work in fitness, or, even if you work in a shop that sells supplements, you will essentially always get asked, can you write me a food plan? Won't happen a lot, okay? But it will happen from all different types of people. Some people who are good, who know what they're doing, they would like a food plan, right? Other people who are not in a good place physically, can you write me a food plan, right? That's question one. That's the evolution of the food plan. So it starts, when you start in this industry, any of you out there, maybe not so much now, but certainly in 2010, right, so I've got to write this kind of food plan. What do? I do some research, right? Now, what I'm going to do with my research is I'm going to end up being kind of diverted, in these days, to a nutritionist, but a few years ago you would have ended up looking at physique, food plans, bodybuilding food plans, spreadsheets with all the details of the food plan. Now, with the evolution of the food plan, I want to be really clear with my take on it. I know loads of really top-end coaches and people, they write incredible food plans. Hey, and, I've got loads of respect for them. But what I'm talking about here, we're talking to each other here and we're debating this food plan system and the evolution of the food plan. So, people who are out of shape, right, here's my debate with the food plan, the history of the food plan. It started out by being this thing that physique models and bodybuilders did, and a product that you could write for someone to help them with their food. That was the starting point for the food plan, right? Now, does this work? And I'll tell you this because I think there's two different groups of people out there watching this. Have you ever had a food plan written for you? Right? Did it work? Or on the other side of the coin, do you really need a food plan to lose weight and to get in good shape? So my point is, are you someone who's got in good shape without a food plan? Are you someone who's on the other side of the fence who says you need structure, you need a food plan? It's a critical bit of it's a critical thing, because the evolution of the food plan is that in 2010 we were writing food plans, right? In 2014 we started getting qualified as nutritionists. Now, and this is a fact from inside the industry, when you go deep in nutrition you actually start getting taught psychology. In other words, it's not my opinion, if it was effective, if food plans were effective, why are the same people now talking about psychology? See? Same people are deep on habit forming, psychology. In 2010, they were talking about proteins, carbs, and food plans. So this is my kind of why I think there's a massive debate on food plans, because it's evolved. And if something's evolved so that what was around 10 years ago isn't there anymore, and all the bodybuilders and physique people don't want to get involved in writing food plans for non-bodybuilders, right? At least the ones I know, they won't write you a food plan because you're not going to follow it, right? So are we at a place with the evolution of the food plan and such that does it work? Does a food plan work? Does it make any sense? You know, do you follow it? And it's up, I believe that's up for debate. So the evolution of the food plan forms the crux of part of the confusion. So as I was talking to another kind of fellow coach during the week, you know, who's obviously got a lot to say on these sorts of subjects, is there's no doubt that it's confusing. I'm a coach, I'm confused. I'm not confused about what you need to do to get in good shape. I'm confused by the mixed messages. So let's address some of those mixed messages that we're kind of seeing at the moment. You've got to eat clean. That's been going on for a long time. You know, got to eat clean. Now, there's two, obviously, sides of the coin here, and you watching this will be on one. If you've got in good shape from being in bad shape without a food plan, right, or with a food plan, do you now have the type of information? Is what you've learned massively complicated? So is it like, well, nutrition's complicated because it's so complicated? Or are you like me and you look, why is it so complicated? You know. Example is, every time I have a client who gets in good shape or better shape, there's always certain principles that they follow, e.g., pardon my language, cutting out the crap. Yeah? Obviously, it's not the sort of language I would use, you know, normally, but that's what they do. That's what they say to me. You know, they're eating clean. They're not eating those things that they know are bad for them. You know, how many people now really need a qualified nutritionist to tell you that processed food is not good for you? So, you know, the long and short of it is the confusion there to kind of smokescreen the obvious? You know, is it consumer led? So, for example, if someone was to just stand there and go, stop eating all that kind of stuff that's not good for you, that's processed, it's clearly bad for you, you know, what then? So that's your kind of, what I think, you know, to be confusion by design. Is it confusing by design? Am I wrong? Or is it something that you agree with? Does it spark the debate of why don't people who've achieved things start talking about the fact that it's a load of rubbish, all this kind of confusion? The sharp end. So, you know, I'm involved in this world every day, so I like to, you know, talk about stuff that I've heard that hopefully, you know, will get you talking, but hopefully as well, you're not in the sharp end just because you're a qualified PT. You're in the sharp end if you're trying to get more than a couple of sessions in a week and you're trying to dissect information, and it's, you know, you're in the middle of this war that is trying to get in shape. That's the sharp end to me. Yeah, clarify that. But certainly my sharp end kind of particular client this week came back and started training and started, when we started training, started hitting me with a lot of questions. And I said something to him that hopefully can start, but not a trend, but start maybe you and other people talking about what it is we're doing in a different way. He was asking me about the different variables of his current program, if you like, even though program makes training quite confusing. I said to him, you've got a workout that I'm going to send over to you, and that's like a brick. Perform your workout. Every time you perform your workout, you lay that brick, okay? We're looking for you to lay bricks, right? Now, as I say this sort of stuff all the time, but certainly he seemed to think that helped a lot. Told me after that really helped. It kind of starts up what I consider to be, I talk to people all the time who aren't PTs, who know a lot about training. We all like talking about training. We like talking about, our workouts, exercises. In the gym, you'd always have people kind of miffed as to what was going on, particularly sometimes with other PTs, where they go, what is that PT doing with that client, etc. Now, I'm a PT, so I support the community of PTs. But certainly, when it comes to the actual business of training and what I'd class as the sharp end, is the terminology, does it make sense? Does this sciencey jargon, again, is that by design? Of course, you've got a muscle group and all these biological things happening. But does science really inspire anyone? So I suppose that's another question. Is any of you out there inspired by science when it comes to your training? Do any of you kind of use that sort of language? Do you kind of name the muscles, or, does that give you a buzz? It's to me, when it comes to training, that's why I mentioned said client is, if I blinded him with, the science of it, would that have inspired him? In other words, for me, it's very practical. Training is very practical. Like with a builder or construction, you're building something. Tell me how to do it with clarity, okay? Science inspires the coach. Like science might inspire me, because I'll be like, wow, I like that science. But does science inspire you? Does science inspire people who are just training hard? So that's my kind of sharp end with my bricks kind of situation. Mind the gap. So, sports and fitness, is there a big gap or not? I'm intrigued to hear or kind of question people who are training. I'm always sort of slightly confused by the fitness industry, though it's a great industry to work in. The language and terminology, I think, is quite complicated and doesn't make a lot of sense. And then when I look at the bigger universe of fitness, where you're on the internet and, and really a lot of obviously what I'm kind of addressing or hoping to kind of flag up for debate, I'm based in the UK. So, I'm not looking at the USA, Australia, where I know, even Europe, certain places in Europe where they're a lot more hardcore, or should I say, less confusing. So with the sports and fitness and the mind the gap that I'm kind of interested in is, let's address, and this is an interesting one again, one of my fellow kind of coaches that I've been talking to, we digress a lot on some of the stuff we're going to talk about here. And one of the main things is your starting point, okay? Your starting point. So if we look at the, one of the root kind of things that maybe I'm wrong, but I think is up for debate when we talk to people to try and welcome them in to start training. In sports, the sports universe, they're huge now on the psychology of kind of training, and they're huge on the process over outcome, right? Example is, they don't want athletes getting obsessed with that gold medal over the performance, right? So obviously I'll try and do this in layman terms. So for example, in sport, you want to put in a good performance all the time. You want to improve your performance. You want to judge your performance. You don't always have control of the outcome. You might turn up on the day, there's like a world champion there. You ain't going to beat them. Done. You're not going to win. So, outcome and process, this is a fact. If you look at sports science and sports psychology, they're big on not getting their athletes to lose sight of the process. That's sport. Fitness. What are new joiners and kind of clients and people who are joining gyms, what are they normally obsessed with? Is it a result? Even I've been guilty of it, where you obviously have to kind of, push the result in someone's face. This is the result. This is why you're training, and this is what we're looking for you to get with your training. Now, we had a good chat when I was talking about this with another coach, and hopefully it sparks a debate that you want to get involved in, is if you've been training over 2 years, are you realistic about what you're going to get from your training? Are you doing it for a result? Or are you doing it because you've just become slightly addicted to it? Are you kind of pulling up your t-shirt and waiting to have that 8-pack? Or are you just ticking over? In other words, are we going against the logic of sports scientists, and instead of emphasising process, we're emphasising sort of exit or result? It's something I've found interesting when it comes to this debate, because, again, we're talking about body image. We start talking about expectations. Someone comes on board and they've come on board for a result, right? They've gone, I really want to get this look. I really want to improve my body look, my shape. I really want that result. You even get, certain clients who are great clients. But, I just need the result. I want the result, etc. And it's difficult because, it's a service, as opposed to sport. Let's look at that from a sport perspective. I walk into my sports coach and I'm like, I want a result. And I want to ask you that. If any of you have done any sort of sport, particularly a combat sport, if any of you have done any sports, do you rock up at your sport and really almost question when the result is going to come? When am I going to win? I really want that result. I really want to kind of win the next one. Is that healthy? That's the debate. I don't have to, I'm not here to give all the answers. As I say, I'm here to flag it up, to ask you, and to, hopefully you can talk to people around you who maybe are talking about these results, and we, the industry, I work in it, so we're all being bullied at the moment to talk about results and to focus in on weaknesses and, to find pain points. Real cheesy stuff, in my opinion. But so always when I talk about sport and fitness, is the gap closing or is it getting bigger? For example, if the current wave of advice for coaches is to zone in on what your clients want and work backwards. So for instance, said client this is the result they want, and I'm going to talk about it and build everything around the result and not educate them on the process, right? Or flip side, if that's happening and me and other coaches are getting told to get result specific and talk about results, etc. And then the other side, in the sports world, they're going to talk about the process. Don't make them get too obsessed with the result. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the two industries, or maybe they're both really different. Which I've said before, which I'll always kind of give you the opportunity when you're watching and kind of try and sense myself as the guy throwing the debate out. Maybe they're totally different. Maybe sports and fitness, maybe I'm just providing a service to clients and I'm judged on finances and business, as opposed to a sport where you're judged on just the machines that you make. I'm always going to throw this up as a debate. Kind of leads on to when you're in a gym and you work in a gym and everyone will want to know, are you busy? Are you busy? Have you got a lot of clients? And I've never understood that question. Have I got a lot of clients? Why? This is, what difference does that make? I've never understood it. As opposed to in sport, when it's like values. You've got a great group of athletes there. That athlete that you've got has got a great attitude to training. Your athletes have got good values and you have a strong team. Do people walk around in the sports world going, your club's massive, you're so busy, you're so financially successful? So anyway, I could talk about that all day. Obviously, that's the kind of the sports and fitness mind the gap. So as a roundup for today, confusion by design, the nutrition kind of debate raging on. The sharp end, laying those bricks. Then, obviously, when I talk about sport and fitness, the psychology of process over result and mind the gap. Is the gap getting bigger? I'd love to hear from you if you're like me, trapped in this strange universe of teaching sports and being in gyms and actually seeing the gap increase. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the gap's there. Maybe there is no gap. Thanks for watching this episode. Next ep, we tend to kind of work week to week. Certainly, the more feedback I get from you all, the more you'll shape it. I've always got stuff to talk about. Certainly, something that I want to start covering and talking about next week is the community. There's this whole community thing going on at the moment that it's weird because again, it's up for debate. But I think that what does the community consist of? So for instance, where they say fitness community, of who? Are you in the middle of a fitness community at the moment? Do you have a strong community around you? On the other side of the kind of debate, are you someone who just does it on their own because you like training on your own? You don't want to train with other people. And are you looking around at these fitness communities and just seeing them as, again, the confusion to do with strong business models or actual people training? And these are things that I want to throw up for debate because I'm exposed to a lot of this, in that, does anyone talk to you? Are you someone in good shape who's got a result? And is anyone interested in your opinion? Do you talk to people about training? See, because a lot of, just to end off, a lot of people who train seriously, they don't even talk about it to anyone. I know loads of people who train really hard, really well, and they just go home. They don't have a reason to talk about training. They're not trying to sell anything. They've got a job. They earn money. So they go to the gym and train and go home. And a lot of them are sitting there like that in a gym, looking at these communities and groups and going, what are they doing? Anyway, so I could really go deep into that right now, but I'm not going to. Try and keep it short and sweet. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned. I'm going to knock one of these out once a week minimum. I'm back in the gym now, so hopefully they'll get more advanced. Hopefully we'll get some people on soon. Jeffro Trainer, Naked PT. Thanks for watching.